What's up, guys? In the last video, we added some stuff to the player controller. We added God mode. We added what is this? Different instances of player for later for safekeeping. We did movement speed and infinite sprint as part of the config rather than just automatically having them on always. In this video, we're gonna do some GUI stuff. We're gonna be making it we're gonna start making the menu so we can start adding stuff to it. There's some more boilerplate stuff that we need to do that I haven't already done, so we're gonna get that out of the way. And then there's gonna be a small fix that we need to do for something that, uh, you don't notice it's an issue because you could tell something was wrong, but it didn't matter because it still worked. So when we make this menu, we're making it when when our mod loads into the game, which is fairly early. It's like really early actually. And this is actually the reason why things get destroyed is because when we load in, we're loading in at an entry point that's super early, and that's why we have to do things like hide stuff. So if we go back to our mod menu, if we remember, looks like I changed these and I ended up having to fully qualify these for reasons we'll talk about in a second. I had these divided by two for each. And if you know, if we pull out a paint here, you have a screen here. So we do a screen, divide it by two, you get it here and here. So the menu should have been drawn right here. But it wasn't. It was drawn over here. Now, why is that? Well, the reason for that is it uses like the what do you call it? The little console menu that kind of pops up or whatever that goes like right here. Something like that. It's a little smaller and then it draws in the middle of that instead. That's my best guess. I can't think of any other reason why it would be drawing up there. So how do we fix that? There's a couple ways we can fix it. All of them include making the menu get created a little bit later. That's the main thing we need to do. And how we do that is ultimately up to you. Now, I'm going to do it in this particular way that I have come up with. I have done it before a different way where I had it patched in at a certain point when the player started a game or like try to join or host a game. In this case, we're going to just go ahead and delay it. So let's go ahead and cut all this out. We're going to cut it, not delete it. And let's go ahead and make a private void create menu. And we need to make this private because it's only going to get called once and it's going to get called from the plugin itself. And when the plugin gets loaded, we just want to say task.delay. And I'm going to do like 2000, I think. That should be fine. So it's like 2 seconds. Dot continue with, and then t equals create menu. And this will delay it enough so that it gets created. Now, if we leave this at divided by 2, it's going to get created where we expect it to right in the middle of the screen. And we obviously don't want that. So what I've done is I went ahead and did some testing. And firstly, I changed the menu width and menu height to 1400 because I want it to be more of a like a wide menu. And it was originally going to be 800 by 400, but since I want my menu controls on the left side vertically, and I want it to be an 800 by 400. They're going to be 200 wide, and we're going to have an 800 by 400 space to work with next to it. So we'll do 1000 by 400 for this. And then for the location, I decided for me personally, because there's like these red like things in the top left, top right, like the little corner pieces for like if you're looking through a camera, and I wanted mine sort of like inside of that. So I kind of came close to lining it up with that corner. It looks relatively decent. It's not perfect, but it looks pretty good. So that's how I did that. So we got divided by 8 for the width and divided by 10. Now we're going to do a little bit more math here to line things up because it's kind of icky, to say the least, when we do this. So my goal here is to try and do as many or as few numbers as possible, like actual hard-coded numbers inside of here. We want as many variables as possible. The only numbers should be like, if we have 5 things stacked on top of each other, it should be the item multiply or its height multiplied by the amount that, or the integer that it is, or the index of it. So I times height. And if there's 2 of them, and they're 100 height, then it'll be at 200, for example. So we're going to add a few things here. So we have center X. I'm going to add so since it's going to be more of like a horizontal with things to the left and right, we're going to do a private int. We'll do quarter X. We may not use this one, but we'll see. And we'll do a private int 3/4 X. Next, and for reference, if we have a screen and we have a half, our our first quarter is going to be here, like this, and here. So it makes it easier to line up our items. And then for our toolbar, we're gonna have like a toolbar. It's not called a toolbar because it's vertical, but we use a private int, and we're gonna do toolbar width. And we have to make a decision here, which it can be changed, of course, but how wide do I want these buttons? I'm gonna make them 200 wide. And then we're gonna do a private int for the actual menu start. And we'll see what that is in a second. So let's go down to awake. And firstly, let's determine what menu start is. Menu start's actually super easy to determine. So we just do menu start equals menu x plus toolbar width. And then center x is going to be, instead of menu x, it's going to be menu start. Because we want to calculate, I'll bring out the paint again here. I'm probably going to be bringing this out a few times to describe the math. So we bring out the menu here. It's going to be more like this rather than like a skinnier one. So let's say I have this is the width of our buttons. So we have like button here. And that's not going to be that line. That's an imaginary line. But this is how wide the buttons are. Then instead of calculating halfway being from here to here, instead it's going to be from here to here. So we have a halfway point of here instead of like here. That way it's more accurate for what we're going to be doing. I don't want everything to be lopsided like right here, or at least split in half right here, because we're probably going to have items here and here. Anyway, go ahead and close out of that again. So that's the math for that. I don't think we need to do anything else in this one, and I don't know if we're going to be using update. I started doing this, I'm like, well, we probably don't need update. So there's a couple other boilerplate things I want to get out of the way real quick. Let's go back up here. We're going to do our toolbar stuff. So private int toolbar, we'll say toolbar int equals 0. We'll do a private string, and it's an array of strings, and we'll say toolbar strings equals, and we'll just do it for now empty. So what this is the length of toolbar strings is going to determine how many buttons there are in that toolbar. So if we do 4 buttons, we're going to have, or 4 items, we're going to have 4 separate buttons. So we could say, for example, and I'm going to actually, we'll just put these in now. First one is spawn enemies. At least that's what I want it to be. This may change. It's subject to change, I guess. I will do host settings. So things like essentially cheats. We could say cheats. We have server settings, which is also probably going to be host only, where like set enemy spawn rates, other things like that, enemy settings. And then I'm going to call this one empty. This one could be any number of things. I do want a 4th section. This could be like a reset, like reset spawn enemies, reset host settings, reset server settings, reset all, stuff like that. And we could also have it like destroy enemies or something, because I want spawn enemies to be its own thing. It's separate from everything else. But I do want it to be organized well. So that's for our toolbar. I'm going to do a region for styles. So let's do a region styles, and then just end that region real quick. And in here, firstly, I'm going to do a private bool for initialized, because we need to initialize all of the styles that we set. It's false, and we'll make that capital. So initialized, and then we need something called a GUI style. So private GUI style, not GUI settings, style, menu style. And we're going to have a few of these. Unfortunately, this is really boring. So let's go ahead and just copy this, and I'm going to create all of the ones that we're going to need right now. New button, custom button, label, toggle, H-scroll. So for this, and we'll talk about why we have a button style, and a custom button style. And then a label style. A toggle style, and then an H scroll style, which we may not use those in this one. I'll see. So let's go ahead and define initialize, but I really don't want to write it out right now. Private void initialize menu. And then we'll just say if menu style is equal to null, initialize. and we're gonna do a double check. So we need to make so first things first is I don't want this to run when the menu is first created, and unfortunately that's because the game will crash, or at least it'll try to. Not right away. Like if we create this and do it, it'll be fine. But when we start working with like the custom button and stuff, it's not gonna want to do that when the game is created. So we're gonna do the if visible check is first, and the first time the menu's open. So if not initialized, go ahead and initialize menu, and initialized equals true. And I set that to false by default, right? Yep. Okay, so that's how initialize is going to work. Unfortunately, not that I know of at least, there's no like GUI start, so we kind of have to be a little awkward about it, which is fine. It still works. So for not initialize, go ahead and initialize. We could even say like initialize is true down here, but it is what it is. So let's move on, and we'll probably have to create those anyway. Let's go ahead and do colors real quick. So we'll just do another region for colors. Colors. And this is going to be a little different than like normal colors and region. So colors are okay, you could do colors the normal way. However, since we're applying them to buttons, I'm going to be doing a list of colors for each color. It's going to have a normal color, a hover, and a click. It's just going to be denoted by 0, 1, 2. It's not going to be like a dictionary or anything. So we do like a private list of texture 2Ds. And it's just gonna, I'm gonna call it by the color name equals, so it's blue equals new list of texture 2D. And we can actually just copy this. So I'm gonna do this for red, green, and blue. Red, green. And then we'll probably have black and white in here, but we don't really need to designate those because it is what it is. So at least for red, green, and blue, I'm gonna go ahead and drop those in. So when we initialize colors, the list is initialized, but we need to actually go ahead and add them. So red.add, and remember we've done this method, or we made this method a while ago. It's a helper method. We're going to be using this a lot today. So when we do a make text, we always do 2, 2, new color, and I don't think the 2, 2 is relevant. It could be like 1, 1. I've just been using 2s. Let me do that, and we'll print it out. And for the color, we need to do, so red is always the first number. So for mine, I'm going to do 0.6f, 0, 0, and then for the fourth one, it's always the alpha, which we want to be 1f for full solid. You can have it slightly transparent if you want to, or however you want. And you don't have to do these lists. For example, you can just do red is equal to this one color, and then when you hover or click it, it'll just look different. I'm going to do this because I want to have the full thing set up. I want to like quote unquote think of everything, right? So I'll do that. And this is so 6. So each one of these is brighter. So a color is from 0 to 1, 0 being the darkest, 1 being the brightest. That's why if you do 1, 1, 1 and 1, you get full white. 0, 0, 0, 1 is full black. And then if you combine, half red, half green, you get, I think that's brown. Half red, half blue is like purple or something, stuff like that. So we can actually just go ahead and copy these. I'm going to do the same thing for green and blue. So we're just going to change this over to green, change this over to blue. And then all you have to do is copy this over to this and here. Copy the 0.8f to here and here. And I'm sure there's probably, oh, not 0.1f, excuse me, this should be 1f for the third one. And then put 1f for the third one on each of these. It's my apologies. And then the rest of these we can zero out. So the first row on this one. And I just goofed up, I realized. I put the blues in the green. That's okay. I can fix it. Put this here, here, here. And we'll just cut these over. Eight F and 1F I put in the right spot somehow. I don't know what I was thinking. Must be on autopilot this morning. Okay. Okay, so we've got our red, green, and blue, and I missed this last one. Don't miss anything. I know it's kind of tedious to do these repeatedly. I gotta put this down to 0. Oh, I'm missing everything today. We don't need F's on zeros. There we go. Okay, so that's in the middle, that's in front, and that's in the third one. Perfect. Okay, so now we have our color just for storage for later because we're going to need that when we make custom buttons. Let's go ahead and set up our actual GUI so we can actually see things because we've just done a lot of boring stuff that is, well, boring. Um, so let's go ahead and say, firstly, oh, I deleted our GUI.box. I'm going to put that back in. GUI.box, new rect, menu X, menu Y, menu width, menu height. And I'm going to give it no label or no title anymore. If I want to add a title, I'll do one later. I'm not really too worried about the title though. And then for our quote unquote toolbar, we're going to do a toolbar int. So the integer that we set up earlier is equal to. Now we don't use a toolbar in this case because we could use the toolbar, but the toolbar is horizontal. What we're going to do is use a selection grid. And we'll do a new rect. And the X and Y are menu X and menu Y because they start at the top left, top left, menu Y. And then for the width, we're going to do toolbar width. And for the height, we do menu height. Okay. And then we want to give it the toolbar int as the integer adjusts. The toolbar string. And then to make this a singular selection, like a vertical toolbar without like a grid, like an actual grid, we say x count is equal to 1. And then we'll come back with a style in a bit because we don't have any actual styles defined. We have the colors defined here, but we don't have any styles defined. So this is fine. This will do. And now to use this, this actually is really just simple. We could do an if or a switch. We're going to use a switch here. Toolbar int. And we know there's 4, so we're going to do case 0 break, case 1 break, case 2 break, case 3 break. I hate how it's like you're supposed to go down. There we go. Okay. So each one of these, so we have 4 cases, and this is based on the length of toolbar string. So just keep these aligned. Otherwise, otherwise you have a case where nothing happens or whatever. It's going to say, oh, this case isn't true. So now we can go ahead and do buttons. So we can like draw stuff in each one of these. So each one of these is like its own individual palette, you could say. It's only going to draw whatever, based on whatever case is true. So for this, just for testing, we're just going to do, well, we can leave the break in. We'll just do GUI.button. We'll say new rect. And just for testing purposes, we'll do menu start. So we'll drop it right in the top left. And for the Y, so that's at the full left, we'll do it at the top of the menu Y. Item width. And then for the height, we'll do 100 because 200 is really tall. We also need to give it some text. We'll just give it test. And we'll worry about something like a button style later, like I said. So you see, we have a very limited amount of numbers here. We may be able to designate that, hey, we should probably do this tall, or things should be this tall and no taller. But for now, 100 is fine to be hard-coded. Let's go ahead and drop a button in each of these and give it different text to make sure things are working. So we'll say test 1, 2, 3, save build. And let's go ahead and grab it and let's just see if it's working. See if we got any errors. No errors, so that's good. And I know we did a lot of things without looking at it. I've already tested these things, so I'm not too worried about them, unless I made a typo. Okay, so like I said, it's in this top left corner, and it looks like so far things are working. They're not pretty, but they work. We got test 1, test 2, test 3, and essentially test 0, so this is good. And it's going through and selecting each one, so this is nice. We'll go ahead and quit. And okay, so now that we've got a toolbar working essentially. We've got buttons showing up. We got things drawn. Time to get even more boring. Let's do the least boring part first. Let's do a private bool custom button. Now we could, okay, so we don't need to do it this way. The reason I'm doing it this way is because when we do a style, we would have to make different style for each button, or every time the button is called, reset that style based on what we want. So I'm going to use a custom button that is going to automatically reset the style every time it's called. So each time you do a custom button with the custom color, it's going to set it. And let's see what I mean in a second. So we're going to give everything that a button would use because we're just going to be calling a button in here. So erect POS for position, GUI style, GUI style, bool, the var that we're passing through, list texture 2D, and we may not need to pass in that variable because yeah, we'll hold on to it. Actually, no, we do want to because the button's going to need it. And then we want a list of texture 2D, and we're just going to call it color, and it's going to take an for now a red, green, or a blue. And then we could say style dot normal dot color, or not color, excuse me, background color, or background equals color 0. That's the normal. Style dot hover dot background equals color 1. Style dot active, which is clicked dot background equals color 2. So that's why we did 3 of them. Again, you don't have to do all this. This is me saying I want to make my thing look as nice as possible, or not really look as nice as possible, but as like thought out and custom as possible. So var equals GUI.button POS comma text comma style. Did I give it a text? I forgot the text. Let's do a comma here. Let's do that right before style. String text. String text, not sting. And then we're going to go ahead and return var, because var is going to be equal to that button. So what that does is the button is already determining the boolean. And do we have to give the buttons a boolean variable, or no? We just set them equal. Okay, nope, that's good. So now, whenever we create a new custom button, it's going to take in that style. That's what the custom button style is for. Why is var saying its initial value is never used? Oh yeah, that's right. And we're just supposed to return that. Okay, we can get rid of this boolean here. And we can just set a variable equal to it. We'll say return, just to be a little more specific, return var. There we go. Not that it really matters, but okay. Anyway, so for this, so if we were to create one custom button and use the normal button style that we designate up here, and then we go in and then we, it calls it does these things. Even though we're not using the ref here, which really confused me at first, when we go to the next button, even though we don't like use the custom button thing, it would still, if it's using that same thing, wherever I defined it, button style, if it uses the same style, that style has been modified and it's going to use the new custom attributes. So if we only use the custom attributes with the custom style, each time that custom attribute is called, it's going to designate the correct color, so each one will be fine. Uh, Ultimately, don't worry about it. If you're trying to do the same thing I'm doing, you can follow the same steps and it'll be fine. So instead of saying a GUI.button, we could say custom button. And the only other thing we need to pass through is a GUI style and a color. So let's go define a GUI style, and we could say like new GUI style for now to get rid of the error. And I'll do blue for now. Let's go make a GUI style, or make them, I guess. Where is initialize? Oh, here it is. I was looking at it. Okay. So to initialize stuff, there's a few things we need to do. Firstly, let's come up and actually let's go below these. Let's just we can't even minimize those. That's okay. So we'd say for each one, we're going to have to say menu style, or the relevant style, equals new GUI style, GUI.skin, and then in this case it's .box. Button style equals new GUI style, GUI.skin.button. And I'm going to go ahead and copy this for custom button. And then for label, we're going to do, actually, let's just copy this for label and the remaining ones. Label, toggle, H scroll. Label, toggle. And toggle, we might be able to use button because there's a way to get a toggle to look like a button, and I want that because I don't like the checkboxes. They are ugly and annoying to work with. Buttons are a lot easier. And we'll do H scroll equals GUI.skin.horizontal scroll bar. And then below this, we have to tell each one a few settings. First things first, and no matter what, whether we customize it or not, if we want it to exist beyond what we've just done, we have to say the style, so in this case, menu style first, dot normal, dot background, dot hide flags, equals, okay, let me correct myself. We only need to do this for the background color. We don't need to do this for the rest. We shouldn't need to, if I remember correctly. So we do like, get out of here. So like we shouldn't need to do this for menu style dot normal dot text color dot hide flags. Yeah, we don't do it for that. I don't think we even do it for normal. So hide flags, yeah, we only do it for the background. I don't know why, and we probably also need to do that for like other ones if we customize them, but we're not going to worry about it. So we can go ahead and put that towards the bottom of this. We can say menu style dot normal dot text color equals color dot white. I don't think I'm using anything on the menu style or on the menu, so we could probably ignore this stuff. But I'm actually going to go ahead and just copy this stuff in. And this code will also be available. To be honest, I'm really not a big fan of these sorts of things. There's just a lot of stuff with GUI. Like even when you're creating this in engine and you have all these options, it's still long and tedious to go into these options. Like you have to design them once, and then you can copy and paste them to another thing, but then you got like a bunch more. So I'm just gonna paste in all these options and leave the code available on the GitHub repo for this particular section. So this will have everything, and this will be set up if you want it. It's not like it's anything special. It's just a long time to type. So once we've got this, we can actually go ahead and reference these. So for example, for toolbar int, not that we've done much with this stuff, but we can say style, and the style is going to reference button. So we're going to do button style. And for, let's see here, for custom button, we can use custom style, custom button style, and we'll do blue. We'll go ahead and toss one of these in each of these because I'm curious. And we'll do blue, red, green. And we'll leave the last one blue because I'm too lazy to change it. And we'll do test 1, 2, 3 again. Save and build. And I think that's actually it. Everything's initialized. Everything's good. And yeah, let's go ahead and test it out. Okay, and let's go ahead and head in. Okay, let's take a look for any errors. The menu hasn't been, well, the menu has been created, so no errors yet, nothing red. That's good. I got rid of Unity Explorer because it was causing issues. Not necessarily issues, but it was making things like laggy and slow sometimes, so. Okay, so test is blue. Now, it's not like a pretty blue or anything, but it's blue, so that can be changed if you want to. And the click works. Let's go to red. Same thing, and green. Kind of bright, but you get the idea. So that's why I did the 3 colors. Again, you don't have to. If you don't, and you only do 1 color for like the normal, if you hover or click, it's gonna default to like what these look like that. So just bear that in mind. But for now, that's good. In the next video, we're gonna hook some of this stuff up to our. We're not gonna just do buttons. We're gonna move into like labels and stuff like that, and we'll probably add in toggle buttons. But we're gonna end up doing. Wow, we're gonna be hooking that stuff up to some of the things we've already made, such as the infinite sprint. We'll probably do an H scroll for the player speed and stuff like that. So yeah. In any case, thank you for watching and have a wonderful rest of your day.